lying in my girlfriend's dorm, weeping. I am covering her in tears and am honestly worried that this moment will change how she sees me. But what is echoing through my mind wounds me more than that thought. I am empty. But if you looked at my life on paper, it would be odd to you why I felt this way. I went into high school right after the shutdowns in 2021. And at that time, I started getting into the online self-improvement space. Watching Hamza, I started trying to be more disciplined. I started journaling and working out. I started trying to quit bad habits. But even more importantly, I had started truly questioning my faith. For my entire childhood, I was raised in a Protestant Christian household and had gone to a Christian school, and I had Christian friends, but I started to spend my time asking everybody around me any question I had. I kept asking questions because the truth was always like a rock in my shoe I couldn't remove. The reality of death had always been constantly imminent. In my mind, a logical symptom was that what was true must actually determine how I should act in light of my inevitable death. But weirdly enough, even though I started to feel like I was getting good reasons to possess the faith that was passed down to me, and despite me trying to live in a healthy way and work towards that which I thought was valuable, the sharp blade of my mortality kept slicing my consciousness, cutting deeper and deeper. I continued to fear death more and more. At this point, my pursuit of truth was not even an attempt to be virtuous, but more of a shield against nihilism. Yet this nihilism persisted. I continued to work towards my goals, but the more I thought about money and status and the things that the world told me to aim at, the more my conscience demanded me to ask what was true. My mind was stained. Every good thing the world told me to aim for was constantly on a backdrop of the finite time I had. I thought my faith was growing because of all the answers I was getting, yet the fear of death grew ever more. I graduated, and although I was making the most money I had ever made, I knew the most things about my faith I had ever known, I was the strongest I'd ever been, I was still brutalized by emptiness. I was haunted by nihilism. Surely my faith wasn't non-existent. I had belief, but I needed my unbelief to be healed. Getting pang after pang of these terrible visions of getting to the end of my life, sitting on my deathbed, with the realization that I will soon be consumed by an unstoppable, never-ending black wall of non-consciousness. This seemingly undefeatable monster started to snuff out all meaning I thought I had internalized. I am in hell. I have this fear without any evidence of hope. It's true and utter emptiness. Tears are running down my cheeks. I'm unable to slow down my breathing. I feel like I would rather just die here and get it over with. In hopes to hide from my reality, I am literally convulsing, my body trying to crumple into itself. But after a long while, I stop enough to breathe. I take out my phone and I call the priest of the church I'm inquiring at. Even though he's busy, he explains to me over the phone the message of the gospel, how our Lord defeated death. I know this intellectually. I've heard this probably thousands of times, but despite that, it is helping me calm down a bit. I'm not sure if it was the message or hearing someone faced with the same reality I was, though they were completely at peace, which brought me comfort. But shortly after, once I calm down, I leave my girlfriend's dorm. I'm driving home in the pitch black, and I know that my life has changed forever. I know these questions mean something different to me now. In this moment, they are no longer merely something I can use to intellectually distract myself against nihilism. These questions are no longer merely tools I can use in a debate. These questions of truth have quite literally become life and death for me. Nothing matters more than the answers to these questions. I experienced the difference between knowing something with my mind and understanding something with my being. The showers of knowledge did not merely wet the leaves of my mind, but sunk deep into the roots of my being, my heart. But I realized the emptiness that is modern self-improvement. I realize even the best of our modern culture leads not to purpose, but to emptiness. Self-improvement was simply glorifying that which it told you to avoid, aiming your sights of purpose towards the target of money or status, all while telling you not to be shallow and materialistic or not to be sexually degenerate. The taste of our culture's definition of self-improvement is sweet at first, but ultimately still has the aftertaste of nihilism. With no true purpose to aim towards, this masked with goals agnosticism idolizes that which the world is left with: sensual pleasures, money, status, drugs, and sex. And focusing on the shallow things of this world don't address the fear of this world ending. There is seemingly no ultimate purpose, and so with any level of questioning, the progress I made on myself drove no satisfaction. Maybe it's unfair for me to criticize self-improvement for not doing that which it never claimed to do, but the criticism stands if applied to any aspect of our culture. Self-improvement is meaningless without God. Everything is meaningless without God. Atoms colliding leave no room for purpose. So after that night, I went deeper, not just intellectually, but synergistically. Although I was sort of ignoring these deeper questions, making poor life choices, and not at rest with my existence, the searching for truth I was doing very seriously throughout high school served me well. I believe I had found the truth, holy orthodoxy. So I decided to move beyond exclusively the intellectual debates and attempted to attach my heart to what my brain was convinced of. To be clear, faith and Christianity specifically is not self-improvement or moral improvement. It is the literal and metaphysical synergy and transformation, being in union with the one true God. Saying equating the two things is a category error would be a dramatic understatement. But to battle the nihilism that seemed to infect my generation these days, I stopped trying to find meaning in the world. Don't mistake my words for some virtue of mine. It was not out of humility, but out of fear. After realizing that the worst aspects of our society point us towards money and sensual pleasure, and the best parts of our society tell you to optimize for more money and experiential pleasure, and that in both cases, you're left empty, I realized that I had to follow a different path. I didn't have to know there was a different path mentally and identify with it. I had to literally take the actions of walking that path. This, to date, has been the only thing that has started, I believe, to heal my soul. Nihilism is truly the spirit of the age, infecting the roots of the younger generation. But this channel, this movement, what I believe to be true is that we must fight against this deadly philosophy. Not because it's scary, although it definitely is, not merely because it's worrisome or that it leads to degeneracy, but primarily because it's not true. Let us not settle for the disease, but embrace the cure. Seek truth. Seek Christ. Not merely through your mind, but with your entire being. This is where the meaning your desperate, yearning soul seeks is found.